This is the Captain's Arena. My name is Simba Elijah Charles Kiage. We are online at Lookup TV across all your social media platforms. I am at Kiage Simba. So the story we're telling today is a story of passion in practice that grows into business. In one way or another, if you've been looking for cancer issues in the country, you have maybe run into this Cancer Center or Texas Cancer Center in Kenya. And you're wondering, is this center in Kenya and who is behind this business? The good thing today is that we have the founder and the CEO, Texas Cancer Center in the country. That is Catherine Nyongesa, doctor, who's going to tell us exactly what her journey within the practice has been, all the way to giving us a scope into exactly how the cancer outlook in the country is. Glad to introduce her to our first ever episode of the Captain's Arena. The hashtag is the Captain's Arena, again online at Lookup TV across all your social media. Nyongesa, welcome to Captain's Arena.
I'm humbled and thank you for that introduction.
It is a
yes, and the opportunity even to have this platform. I don't take it for granted.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Karibu sana.
Okay.
Let me begin like this. I want to first start with, and we kept on joking about that name, the Texas Cancer Center. Somebody runs into it and says, maybe this is in Texas.
I
but
know.
It's right here. So what is behind this now?
Yeah, I really get calls and they say it's Texas, but yes, it's in Kenya, it is in Nairobi. So it is a special name, just like anyone naming. I think Texas is like my baby. Okay. And when you name a business, it always has some special meaning. One is my last born child, CJ, was born in Texas, USA. So I said, now, yeah, he's an American, and how can I carry this name? Yes. Secondly, his father was also practicing medicine in Texas, USA for a long time. Yes. He's a pharmacist. And then thirdly, the biggest cancer center in the world is the MD Anderson Cancer Center, and it's in Texas. So even us, when we are growing Texas Cancer Center, we want it to grow to be a big household name in Kenya, just the way the MD Anderson is a big household name in the US. Because you have to, when you are growing up, you always say, when I grow up, I want to be a doctor like Dr. Catherine, or I want to be an air hostess, So you always have someone you look up to, and that is why the name Texas Cancer Center.
So, Dr. Nyongesa, your story is a long story. But then today, I choose to pick it up in a bit. First, I want you to take us all the way back to why you essentially decided that you want to get into the practice of oncology.
Oh, yeah, it's been a long journey. Yes. First, as a medical student, my sister was diagnosed with cancer. I was juggling, going to school, and studying medicine is hard. So at the same time, you have a sister who is sick, and she's looking up to you to assist her. There were financial implications of the same, and just bringing her to hospital, getting her from my village. Home village is in Bungoma County, a place called Mayanja. So this girl was down there in the village, so I had to bring her all the way to Nairobi. My parents were not working, so the struggles I went through trying to get fare for her, getting a place for her to sleep when she's in Nairobi. She was going through chemotherapy, and it was like getting an oncologist was not easy. There were very few or none. I mean, there were very few, and most of it was being done by the gynecologist. So based on that, I said, when I grow up, probably this is a field I need to look into. So that was one. Secondly, after my undergraduate degree, now I'm a doctor. Yes. I've done internship. I came back to Kenyatta Hospital to work, and then I needed to progress in my career. So I look around, and do I want to become a pediatrician, a gyno, yes, a radiologist? Yes. But I bumped into one of my senior lecturers, who told me that it's also a position you can try, oncology, and I was still very green in oncology. So I walked into the cancer unit. I talked to them. I said, anyway, I want to do oncology, but I don't know how it is, the look and feel. I talked to my friends. They said, no, don't go there. That one is, it's a tough area. It's a no-go zone, not even for women. So I said, now what is this? So I went back again to consult. Then I consulted the people working in the area. And fair enough, I found women and young ladies also working there. So I talked to them. I said, but how do you guys manage? They were one of them was a radiotherapy. She administers radiation to patients. So she told me, no, Catherine, don't worry. I've been in this field for a long time. So don't worry, you can come and attempt. The oncologists who were there were all men. There were actually 3 of them. So I also talked to them. They encouraged me. They said, as much as you've not seen a female radiation oncologist, that should not deter you from doing this course. So, and the rest was history. I got confidence and applied for a scholarship to train in that position, and I was lucky. I got from the International Atomic Energy Agency, they sponsored, and I went to South Africa at the University of Witwatersrand to study. And when I reached there, I found it is doable.
Actually, that's where the story begins, and I want to pick it from there. So now you leave the country and then go to South Africa to study oncology. And after you've been told how tough that particular field is, how essentially women are not in that field, so you go to South Africa. Could you tell me, did you meet more women in your class? How was it once you landed in South Africa?
So in South Africa, still it was a male-dominated field, and still in South Africa. We also had, for the women, there were white women who were our lecturers. So there was no black woman radiation oncologist in South Africa at that time completely. Good enough, there's a lady who joined my class, and she was also the first black woman to do radiation oncology in that country at that time. So we studied with her. I qualified like a year ahead of her. Yes. So if you look at the black population, black women, I can say I was the first black woman to do that course in South Africa, and then she came after me. So she was the first South African born woman to do radiation oncology. Yes. But I thank God because it was a space, an opportunity that I got, and I put in all that I could. During my research, it was passed with the distinction as the best. And one of my professor told me that, wow, Catherine, you've done very well. Among the international students, you've been very good. Yeah, you've stood out. Yes. And then during that time also we had other women, black women from other countries. We had Zambia joining, Zimbabwe, Malawi, Botswana. So more and more women, even Nigeria joined, Ghana. So we are glad that it's a profession that has grown in terms of women empowerment. And back home, we've also started training. And I can tell you the number of girls in this space, we are almost at a ratio of 1-to-1, or we are outnumbering the men soon. Yeah.
I mean, in a field where you've been told that women are not supposed to be or will not succeed in it, and then you graduate top of your class with a distinction, what was your motivation in working hard in it to the point that you graduated top of your class?
Another motivation is just based on where I came from. Getting an opportunity to go out of the country to further your studies and get a visa, it's a blessing. And when I saw that, I said I should not let my family, I should not let my country down, and even my sponsor. But something happens. When I went there, I discovered I was expecting now my second child. So it was tricky and I'm in the field of radiation. So my lecturer felt like you need to go back home, maybe have your baby, because that's what my sponsor now finally recommended.
Yeah.
I go home, give birth, and then I'll go back later
And continue studying.
So it was not easy. I mean, when I gave birth, I decided I'm ready to go back, and I promised myself, even my sponsor, that I know I've let you down by breaking my studies because of the pregnancy, but now when I go back, I'll work harder, that it should not even be a disappointment. They gave me a second chance, just to sponsor you with a second chance. And with that, and I had small kids running around, and I have to study, balance the two. It was not easy, but that motivated me, the fact that I have been given this second chance and I have to use it to maximum. So when it's time to study, I put my kids to the sitting room. I go lock myself in the bedroom. I study hard, and then I know that I have to balance my time. So when people are having fun, maybe going out on weekend, I don't have that kind of luxury. I have to focus on my studies, and I saw things were working very well.
All right, so let's get into the next chunk of that story. So you're done with your studies in South Africa, and now you're back into the country. Did you have an idea of where you're going to start your professional career from once you came back to the country?
I've been doing part-time practice for many years, even before I went to do my master's in South Africa.
Yes.
I used to run a small clinic in Komarok, next to Kayole.
Yeah.
So I had a look and feel of a small private clinic.
Yeah.
It was in an extension of a house in Komarok sector. Is it sector 1?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we were inside the estate. There are small commercial buildings.
I know the setup for commercial.
Yes. So in one of, there was an extension. So we had 2 rooms. So the front is the receptionist, then the inside is the treatment stroke consultation room.
Yes.
And that's where I did. So I used to treat general ailments like malaria, typhoid, flu.
Yeah.
And then, even up to now, I still meet children that I treated long time. They're like, you treated us in Komarok when we were small, and the parents are like, they are happy, they still follow me. Yeah. And I mean, it's very impressive. So from that, when I came back from South Africa, I set up a clinic in town, Consolidated Bank House, Koinange Street. Yes. Then I moved to Kabarnet near Kibera to set up a clinic. Then the clinic kept on growing. So as it grew, one of my Kamba patient told me, Doctor, you don't see, you are growing. She even told me, hey, Doctor, you like kudamadama. It means moving around.
Okay, I see that now. Yeah.
So I moved from there, from Kibera, I went to Hurlingham.
Okay.
Then from Hurlingham, the clinic kept on growing. So finally, we just had to take a loan. And because we had the name Texas, my husband is in Texas. Yeah. So he also kept on encouraging me that your practice can go bigger than what you are selling yourself short of. Mm-hmm. So with that, we took a loan and started construction in the Bagathi one. Yes. And then finally moved everything to that place. So it has not been easy, but we thank God how far we've come.
So now, allow me to take you back to the time that you started then working at the Kenyatta National Hospital. What is this thing that you discovered about cancer situation in the country? And is there an issue that you looked at and then you said, this is a specific Kenyan cancer issue?
So I'll say Kenyatta Hospital has been like my mother. I have grown up professionally through Kenyatta National Hospital. And through that exposure, I've learned a lot of challenges that cancer patients face, mm-hmm. and how best I could, as an individual, support in bridging that care gap. Yes. And as a matter of fact, when I came back from South Africa, I worked so hard. I was one of the best employees, and I won the Employee Excellence Award in Kenyatta. I felt humbled and really said, I thank the hospital for recognizing my work.
Yes.
And I always believe you work as hard as if someone is watching you, even if no one is watching you. And through this, identifying some of the challenges patients face, I said in my own private capacity, how can I support this kind of patients? Whether it is a long waiting queue for treatment, whether it's just even talking to the patient. So all that I've learned through KNH, and with the skills acquired, I've also applied them outside KNH. I do work in other private hospitals. I offer my services to the Nairobi Hospital. I've worked in the Aga Khan. I've worked in Nairobi Women. Yes, Nairobi West Hospital. I've worked in all these hospitals just because of the skills I have. And every hospital I go to, I also try to learn from there. What skills do maybe Nairobi Hospital have, or what facilities do they have that I can support Kenyatta Hospital, or that experience, and that is what has kept me going.
I mean, where did you get your business side of it? Because we know doctors essentially do not start business. Is it through your side hustle throughout your practice that essentially made you realize that indeed you had the business acumen in you to grow all the way to build your cancer center?
I think so through, they say charity begins at home. As a young girl, I used to do business with my mom.
Oh,
and yes.
Which business?
One, we used to hawk green maize, in the market.
Mahindi ya kuchoma hiyo?
Yeah, mahindi ya kuchoma hata hiyo chemsha.
Yeah.
We also used to brew beer. Traditional beer. So I used to, yes, and we sell. So I used to see my mom making money out of it, selling sugar cane from the village. Yeah. And then, because at one point my dad did not have a job. My mom is a housewife. She dropped out of school in class 5. So she used to look around, and she sees people are like people moving from other counties to come to Bungoma.
Yes.
And they start small business hawking a few things here and here, and they feed their family. So my mom was like, even me, I have to do something and feed my family. I don't have a job. So she did all that. We also started buying maize from Cherangani, and we come and sell it at our market. And so I learned about business, how to save, how to invest. And from there, when I started my small clinics also, I kept on continuing with the same. But when I went heavy, I had very wild ideas about this big cancer center. Yeah. So I went to visit the US where my husband was working as a pharmacist. So we went to visit a cancer center there. So I was talking to them on how, we want to bring these cancer machines and everything. So they asked me one question. Okay, so we've seen all this nice presentation of yours, but where is the money coming from? Do you have OPEC giving you money, or where are you getting the money? I said, no, we don't have. So we went back to the drawing board. So came back home now, asked the bank, can you support? Because now I have these wild ideas. The US have accepted to give us these cancer treatment machines, but we don't even have money to buy them. I don't even have a place to go put the machine, the equipment for cancer treatment. So and I really tried to convince the bank. So the bank told me, oh no, you must come up with a business case that has structure, showing us where you're starting from, where do you see yourself in 5 years, in 10 years, all that, the human resource, how many people you are going to employ. So with that, and do market survey, market research. So I had to do all those things. Once those were done, we went to the bank, gave them the business proposal, and they started funding. And that's how it was.
Were you a bit surprised that indeed a bank was ready to give you money just purely out of a business plan?
I think I was lucky, and I also managed to convince them.
Yes.
As much as we are talking matters, health, people's health, and this is like a public-private partnership, because cancer is a public healthcare problem.
Yes.
So the bank really agreed and said, yeah, we can see the pain and suffering of cancer patients, and we are ready to support this venture.
Yes.
And they came in. It was a risk. Anything you do in business is always very risky, but you have to pray that things go well. And yeah, we've had a few ups and downs here and there, but I'm grateful that still the business idea that I had came to pass, and now we are here.
Dr. Catherine, it's not usual that you hear doctors say, I pray that things are going to be fine, because we know doctors believe in A, B, C, D. You administer drug, the drug will either work or it will not. Are you a prayerful doctor?
I think my upbringing, I was in primary school, I went to Catholic schools, even in high school, I was in a Catholic boarding school.
Yes.
So part of the teaching was about praying, yeah, and hard working. So I think that is how I've had those values instilled into me.
Yes.
Yeah.
If I asked you today, what was the ethos of the Texas Cancer Center, in the sense of, could you give me a line as to why you started it? And if I asked you today, does that line still exist?
I think the bottom line is accessible healthcare to cancer patients, and I think that line still remains, despite the ups and downs.
Yes.
It has not changed.
Yes.
And we continuing to keep our eyes on the ball. Hopefully it will go far. We've done only ground floor and first floor. The dream is to go to fourth floor. So we're still on with that task, but we've been limited because of funding. When you take out a loan, you know you have to keep on paying.
Yeah.
Once you pay to a certain level, then you can top up.
Pretty much. All right, we take a tiny breather right here. We are still with Dr. Catherine Nyongesa right here on the Captain's Arena. Once we come back from this tiny break, then we'll be knowing exactly where we are as a country in terms of the cancer outlook, especially in the healthcare sector in the country. How accessible is cancer treatment to Kenyan citizens? And once we come back, there's that story that we do know. If you look online, you'll be knowing exactly what that money was. It was almost 100 to 150 million. She'll be answering that. And the bigger question, has she paid all that money back then as a Texas Cancer Center? Remember, online and Look Up TV across all your social media platforms. Also, the hashtag is Captain's Arena. So when you listen to her story, it is essentially a story of hard work and passion. In fact, before this, if you would know about the cancer or the Texas Cancer Center, you will know there is that business, and you will think about how it grew, and you never even get to know her story. But Dr. Catherine Nyongesa is just an example of what determination, hard work and passion can really produce. So, Dr. Catherine, before we look at the situation of cancer in the country, what it is you're trying to solve, and what you aspire to grow as the Texas Cancer Center, I know you got the money. This is that point where you're going to tell us exactly how much money that you got, and whether indeed you have paid that money back as the Texas Cancer Center.
Yeah, we actually started in 2012.
Yes.
The first batch of money that we got from the bank was 25 million.
That's 25 million.
25
How
million.
much had you applied for?
I had applied for about 30,
Yeah.
so they gave 25, but there was a caveat that you have to put in some small percentage.
Okay.
So with that, I had a house in Komarok which I had mortgaged, so I put it up for sale at least to raise the deposit, and then the bank gave. So that money was purely to purchase the land. After that, we purchased the land, then what next? So I went back to the bank again. They facilitated for more money, another 25, to build the bunker. That is the room where you put the machine.
That's it.
All the same, we put that. But we still needed a place to have patients sleep. We needed a place for patients to be seen, a clinic,
Yes.
set up,
Yes.
a pharmacy, a laboratory. So we went back again and
To the same
borrowed
bank?
the same bank, borrowed more money. So cumulatively, that bank has given us close to 100 million. You know, we keep paying it back and then topping up. Now we are in with the Equity Bank.
Yes.
Yeah, they also gave us a loan that we still paying back. For them, they supported us now get more advanced equipment, and also to buy off the loan from our previous bank.
That's it.
Yeah, so we've borrowed quite a lot. I would say cumulatively close to 200 million just to have that facility running.
Yes.
Yeah. When you borrow, they will give you a moratorium for some time, but after you have to keep paying back the loan. Hey, with these economic hard times, I think they are hitting everyone, and hospitals are not left behind. Running a hospital is not a cheap thing. We have salaries to pay. Yeah, you have loans, you have suppliers. Cancer medicines are expensive, so you have those ones to sort out. So I would say things are getting better, but we are also going through the rough time that the whole country is going through. But we hope things are going to stabilize in the near future.
Yes.
Mm.
Did you get to a certain point where you're saying, you know, it's better for me to look back at this business and say, I'm better to go back to the Kenyatta National Hospital and just retire right there?
When the tough gets going, sometimes you look back and wonder, like, why did I even start this? And also when you grow, as you move up to the ladder of success, you also get an equal measure of negativity. Yeah, and that is how life is. And that negativity sometimes comes in, and I feel like, I mean, why? I should have just remained an ordinary doctor doing, simple things, and that is it. But the biggest drive that keeps me remain in the business is that the lives I touch. Yeah, when a patient calls me, like today, just before this interview, I've had 2 calls. Irene called me, one of my patients, and another one, she's called Jilo. She called me, and they made my day. One is celebrating her birthday, and the other one has just overcome some of the challenges she's been going through with her treatment. So, and some I meet them in the streets, or I go to offices, I meet them. They say, you helped our patient, or you helped me. So that drives keeps me going, and say that I want to leave this world a better place than I found it. Being born to teenage parents, beating all these odds, and the luck that I have had to be where I am today, I don't take it lightly. And that is really, it is a big drive for me. Because I remember those days before we started hawking, like we could stay hungry for 2-3 days because my mom has no food to feed us. And I don't want to go back, to that kind of life. I want my children to not to sleep hungry the way I used to sleep hungry. And I also became like a parent to my siblings, because my parents were very young. They gave birth to children every after year, a child. So all those kids were on me, and it's been very tough. And that burden that I've had carried all along, I don't want such a burden to go to my children. And when I retire, I want to retire and let my children live their life and not be parents.
In the streets, they say that if you want to be a successful doctor, you got to marry a doctor as well. At this point, I want to ask you about your husband. What sort of contribution do you think he has had on the business, that's the Texas Cancer Center. And when he looks at you, does he say, our business? Or is forced to actually help you grow this business because you're married to him as well?
I think just from inception, he's been there for me. Being in the US, he's been helping even to source for engineers, for specialists who can fit the machine for us, sourcing for the equipment at an affordable price, because this equipment are very expensive. He's been there in terms of even just supporting the pharmacy to ensure we get affordable medicine.
Yeah.
And just being a husband, being a father, I think it's all, I mean, you know that there's somebody who is behind your back all the time.
Does he look at your business as our business, or the business that I have to support because while I'm married to
no, it is our business. I would say it's a family business,
Yes.
but we want it to grow. It has overgrown the family level.
Yeah.
I think now it's on national level, and we have a lot of support, young doctors, nurses, and other healthcare professionals, and even non-healthcare professionals supporting the business.
Yeah.
And it's able to run with us there today, or with us even if we have other commitments, it is able to run. And I thank the committed team at the Texas Cancer Center for ever working hard just to be in the journey of recovery for most of the cancer patients that we encounter at the Texas Cancer Center.
Dr. Nyongesa, let's now look at where we are as a country in terms of cancer treatment and access to cancer treatment in the country. I was looking at the stats of why we haven't won the war against cancer in this country. And on top of that, you're going to find that it is the cost of treatment. Is that something you're trying to solve as the Texas Cancer Center? And how are you doing it?
Yeah, cost is always an issue. Mm-hmm. And as I told you, at Texas, we take out loans, we have to pay. So the bank, they don't care whether whether your patient has not paid or has paid.
Yes.
But we try to make the cost of care affordable. One, by negotiating with the suppliers to give us medicines at affordable costs, encouraging patients to take out NHIF that can pay, or at least cater for the financial burden on these patients. Yeah. We also volunteer our time. Fortunately, the center has an oncologist, which is always a big problem. There's a pharmacist who is the owner. So with all that, we volunteer our time to ensure that the center runs by just giving our human resource capacity that we have. We also try to balance. I mean, I believe that any patients who make their way to Texas Cancer Center, whether you have money or you don't have, you are looking for a solution and you need help. So by balancing, ensuring that everyone is taken care of with whatever limited resources you have, we embrace that. And I always believe that God gives us a burden that you are able to handle, and there's enough to go around. Yes. So if you are a poor patient, there's another one who can slightly afford more than you. I'm sure they can always balance out, and this has kept the center running. Yes.
As a woman doctor in a field where you know very well that majority of the affected patients are women, in fact 60% of the affected cancer patients would essentially be women, and 40% lies on men. Has that changed the way that you practice, even how you talk to women, even just encouraging them to even go for checkups?
One, we know that over 60% of the cancer burden is on women. Yes. And me being a woman, I take this personally. Having my sister go through cancer, it is personal to me. Yes. My sister-in-law, as I was getting married to my husband, my sister-in-law had cervical cancer. So all those things are personal to me. Mm-hmm. but I know so 40% of the cancer is afflicting men. So with that approach, I network with women. We have the Uwezo Cancer Support Group. We talk, we have meetings almost once a month or once every 2 months. And whenever there's an event or an opportunity, we come together and they talk about cancer. They go back to the village, to their communities to sensitize about cancer.
Yes.
I also encourage women to join the cancer space. So right now we have a lot of women doctors who are training because they understand that this problem is in women and we need to take care of them. Breast cancer is leading. We have cervical cancer also among the top. In fact, there are years where cervical is top, breast is second, and sometimes breast is first, cervical cancer is second. So these are all preventable diseases. So I support in policy formulation, supporting the government, also encouraging girls to go for the HPV vaccination, women to go for cancer screening, because cancer, if it's detected early, the chances of cure are much, much more higher. And all that has been happening, and I'm grateful for the far we've gone.
You've grown now from a practicing doctor who has to see patients on a daily basis, or the table doctor, to administrative duties now. I know you meet a lot of young doctors who want to get into the field. How do you talk to them? What would you like to see from these young doctors?
For me, I encourage them that it's a good practice. Just like any other industry, it has its own risks, but the oncology field is a good field for them. They should not fear. They can still have their own families and pursue their dreams of oncology. I also encourage them to have empathy to the patients. Put yourself in that patient's shoe, and never, even if the queue is long where you are working, don't leave any patient unattended. I think try to go beyond. And sometimes this patient, all they are asking for is pain control. So don't be so strict that no, today is not your booking day, so I cannot see you, come tomorrow or come next week. Just, when you listen to a patient, you have their problem half solved. Even if they don't have an appointment day that day, but you find them on the line, they are waiting to be seen, and a nurse comes to you with a file and says, "Doctor, I have this patient, I'm sorry, she has no appointment, but she or he is here they have a problem." Talk to the nurse, tell them, "Okay, let me hear out the patient. You can solve some of those problems of that patient." I think it takes more time when you start complaining. When you complain, you take more time complaining. But when you see the patient, you take less time. Because if I have 10 minutes complaining and I have 10 minutes seeing the patient, I think I can see 3 patients and sort out their problems, and I go home, I'm happy that I've changed somebody or I've touched somebody's life, than complaining about the workload. And the more you do as a doctor, the better you become.
As a mom, how do you raise your kids? Is there something that you want them to grow up knowing, probably a lesson from your childhood? And do all of them want to become doctors, just like you?
So for children, I think they're also unique individuals. That's what I've learned. They are not a replica. They are not my replica. They are unique individuals with their own aspirations. Some of the values they learn from you as a role model, but others they're inborn. So I let them chase their dreams.
Do they want to be doctors?
Only the firstborn. She's gone to medical field and she's doing very well in that line. She's doing neuroscience. She's now doing her PhD in the US, at San Diego University. Then the second one, he's into art and design. So he wants to do projection mapping. So that is not even medicine at all.
Completely,
yes. And the last born, he's a footballer. So you see, all these are totally different. I'm a doctor, my husband is a pharmacist, but none of them is in that line. So we just support them and let them pursue their dreams, I think. Yeah.
That's exactly.
We don't force them.
I'm not force you to get into
No. Yeah.
But we're going to support you.
Yes.
Is there a life doctrine that you live by, Dr. Catherine?
Respect. Respect everyone.
Yeah.
Also, life has taught me to value people, anyone, whether it's your house girl or your professor above you.
Yeah.
I think they all have values because God has given each one of us different talents, and you need all their talents to survive on this earth. So that's what I live by.
Here's the thing. I was looking at your practice and do know that you have 5 years to retirement. Is it in 5 years?
No, I'm retiring in 6 years.
6 years, almost got it. I would like to be there as well, even for that party for retirement, Dr. Catherine. But paint for me a picture. Where would the Cancer Texas Center be in 5 years?
Yeah, I mean, in life, I've also learned that your goals keeps changing. You have this vision, but in 5 years, things may happen. So you have to be flexible. Mm-hmm. But I see it as a center that will continue to grow in terms of offering cancer care services and bridging the care gap for cancer patients. So I think that may not change in the next 5 years.
Yes.
The infrastructure, the human resource, I'm sure that one will also have to grow. But the goal of care, focus on cancer patients, will remain and maybe get better in the next 5 years.
People know Dr. Catherine, the serious doctor, top in the country, in a practice of our own as well, grown a big cancer center in the country now, big plans. What do you do to unwind? If we don't find you in a hospital, what would you find? What would he find you? Could be football. Who knows?
Yeah. So I'm a very flexible doctor. I enjoy music.
Okay.
So for me, what kind of music?
Yes.
All kinds, but bongo is my number one. So
Big fan of Diamond?
I stalk him. I know everything, all the gossips. Harmonize, Rayvan, Zuchu, of course. She's now my real star. So Bosso.
Oh yeah.
I can, I know everything about. So I ensure my car is wired, because whenever I get an opportunity, I go on the road, I have to listen to music. Yeah, when I go to the gym, when I have an opportunity, I should have headphones listening to music. So that is my best way I unwind.
Yes.
Obviously, when I'm relaxed, I can take a glass of wine, red wine mixed with Coke. It's my favorite when I'm trying to, I want to catch some sleep and it's not coming. So once in a while, I spoil myself.
That's it.
Then, holidays, I go to conferences. So whenever I go to a different country, I also want to explore and see what is there and just turn off my phone and unwind. So that is how I do it.
Pretty much. And guess what? Even after 6 years, I'll come look for you, by the way, so we can talk about what your plans are in retirement.
Yeah.
Even that party that they're going to do for you at Kenya, I'll come. I'll be part of it.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much.
Anytime,
thank you.
Anytime, Dr. Catherine. Thank you very much for coming by on Captain Sabrina.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. A true captain in this arena. I mean, for any other person involved in issues cancer and then managing cancer in the country or in the world, that has to be a true captain in this arena. That has been our first. Guess what? Next week will be a good time online at Look Up TV across all your social media platforms. I am at Kiagesimba.